We're here today because PAS 150, the specification code of practice for rehabilitation services, is actually launching today.
Yes.
So can you tell us a bit more about the background of why the PAS was developed?
Well, from the UKRC perspective, we developed standards which we launched last year, and they, of course, were for purchasers and providers of rehabilitation services, and to some extent it helped the users. But actually what the PAS standards do is help the practitioners actually focus on how to implement them, and that's a critically important addition to developing rehabilitation services. Really important piece of work from our perspective.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. So what is there prior to the PAS? What existed? What was the situation before?
Well, I think it's true to say that in a sense it's been left to what people think is right at a local level. And whilst I support that, you will get variations in standards. And in a sense, of course, what PAS is doing is indicating a standard that everybody, I think, would have a commitment to aspire to. Professionals have standards, but again, they vary across the services that they operate within. And this one is really focused for practitioners on rehabilitation. So I think that's very helpful indeed.
Thank you. How do you think it's going to improve the services offered? Obviously it's going to standardise things, but how's it going to help for the end user?
Well, if the practitioners are actually using these standards, they will be discussing them across the professions. So you will be getting, I think, the same language being used when they're working with people who are in need of rehabilitation, and that is really good. Because I think quite often somebody who's got a problem that needs help gets confused with the range of comments and advice offered by different professions. And I think using the PAS range of standards as they're illustrated will give a common language which will be good for users as well as for the professionals.
Okay, so we're thinking that obviously with standardisation it'll help people and maybe reduce the risk of the services not being consistent.
That's partly, I think, what I'm saying. Consistency is always difficult to achieve, and if you have the standards, people are knowing what they're using when they're working with people who've got rehabilitation problems. So consistency is important, and because consistency also then can be measured, and you can see the effects on the user, to the benefit of the user, obviously.
Going forward, what do you see the future of rehabilitation services?
Well, we're on a journey, there's no doubt about that, and it must feel to the people who are involved in rehabilitation as though they've been on this journey a very long time. And that's why I think the way the UKRC, the UK Rehabilitation Council, has come together, providing an umbrella organisation that can engage with the whole range of people who commission rehabilitation, those who provide it, the legal profession and the insurers, so that they have an organisation that will end up speaking with the same voice and influencing, we hope, national policy. And that is critically important, particularly at this point in time when new government, who I think are less than clear from what we've seen on rehabilitation, I think there's goodwill there. And if we can show, by working together, both with your standards and the ones we've produced and developing them further, that can only be good for people who are in need of services.